7:40. Morning to you. It's
Morning,
nice to be... Man, you're a bit chilly this morning, aren't you?
It's blinking freezing in here. Absolutely. I'm red, white and blue. The blue bits are my fingers and toes.
OK, let's have a look at the papers for you. And the Eye calls her a history maker. Her Majesty the Queen, of course, as she becomes the first British monarch to mark 70 years on the throne. It's a lovely picture.
It is. The Mirror says, wow, what a racket, great granny, because Prince Louis is seen covering his ears for the fly past.
The Mail says the crowd on the Mall should have been louder for Her Majesty, as the Queen will now miss her Thanksgiving service at St Paul's.
And there's the Telegraph with the lovely balcony scene there at the top. And they're calling it an absolutely glorious do. I tell you what, if you go inside the Telegraph, can I just show you this? This is the most incredible double-page spread. Can you see that shot? That's the red arrows flying over the Mall and Buckingham Palace with all of the beautiful greenery, the Green Park below you, and of course the buildings there in London. How did they get that shot?
I don't know.
Because if that was taken by a drone, which is all I can think it must be, then the drone must have been flying higher than the red arrows.
It must have had special clearance to do so.
Absolutely.
But it's a fabulous shot. Absolutely.
I mean, there are some wonderful photographs in the papers today. So if you're the sort of person who likes to have these sort of souvenir issues, absolutely brilliant. But the Daily Telegraph, they've played the photographs huge. Absolutely brilliant.
Really lovely. Well, let's go through some of those papers in a bit more detail with Benjamin Buttermouth from the Eye newspaper and the journalist Nabila Ramdani. Morning, both of you. Benjamin, let's have a look at the beacons, lighting the beacons in the Times.
Yes, and just to answer Anne's question, there were some helicopters filming it from higher and further away, so I suspect the photos from there, because they shared it on social media, some of the video of those moments from the helicopters. So I think it was that and not a drone. It'd be a bit nervous of a drone so high. But yeah, the beacon. So the last night you might have seen the Queen lit her beacon, which went up to a tree, and you had Prince William at Buckingham Palace. And I thought it was someone kind of trying to think up something to do, frankly. It seemed a little bit odd, but it turns out it goes back to Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee in 1897. So there isn't a person on the planet who was alive to remember that. And apparently she's had these beacons at all of hers. And 54 nations around the world have lit them, about 3,000 of the beacons. So I think the idea is to show the stretch of her influence and of the people that admire her.
Have you seen the famous scene in Lord of the Rings movie where they light all the beacons? And beacons. I was brought up near a beacon, Malvern, on the Malvern Hills, and you get to know what a beacon is about. And it was always the only way to actually signal a whole. It was the early telephone, if you like. And if you lit a beacon, the next beacon, people who lived at the next beacon knew what the signal meant. And so the lighting of beacons is terribly important. It's a way of getting a message around the country. But I didn't know other countries were doing it too.
Yeah,
great.
54, and I don't think that's simply the Commonwealth nations, because I think France has lit one. I think lots of countries have engaged with this, which is lovely. And I think there's no one else, certainly no other Brit, for whom so many countries would want to do something like that as for the Queen.
And indeed, Nabila, in the Mail, they're looking at the tributes, including rather unusual tribute to Her Majesty the Queen.
Yes, indeed. We have the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, who joined a world tribute to, and he actually sent a letter to Her Majesty to congratulate her on 70 years of service. So even a rogue state like North Korea is actually an indication of how influential the crown is throughout the world, and it can only be a good thing for Britain and its influence, and indeed its standing in the world. And I mean, it has to be said that tributes were pouring up from all over the world, from great republics like America. We heard the American President Joe Biden, who said to Her Majesty, "You have inspired people with your selfless devotion and service to the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth." I think there's two words, service and devotion.
He and his wife even went to the trouble of recording that video message, which I thought, I've never seen a president do anything like that before.
Well, the French president did the
He did too.
He recorded a message
in English,
with a bit of French at the end, but
he could have done it because she's fluent in French, Her Majesty, isn't she?
Well, absolutely. She speaks very good French, and she has travelled to France a number of times. I've actually met her on her last trip in France.
In France?
In France, when she was in Paris, and I mean, you know, I saw just seeing her gliding on her Rolls Royce up the Champs-Elysees is quite a scene when you think about French presidents being driven in Renault cars and Citroëns. You know, it contrasts quite sharply with the grand, you know, sense of class, a true class that the Queen carries. And, you know, any Queen's 70th birthday or anniversary, effectively, on the throne would be an astonishing event in itself, and it is especially so when we are talking about a monarch who's lived through such a rich and fascinating, not only British history, but also world history. And it has to be noted, even in the world tributes, even Sinn Féin's, the party vice president, Michelle O'Neill, she wrote, your Platinum Jubilee is a historic moment, especially for all those from the Unionist and British tradition on the Isle of Ireland, whom hold you very dear. And I think that's quite
something, isn't it?
Of, you know, the Queen is, of course, part of history, but she's also part of a changing history. And I think that's important here, that Sinn Féin, of course, has always been committed to the Republican struggle against the British Crown, but they accept that the world has changed drastically and quite dramatically during the Queen's reign, which is a representative of a changing world and also a world of reconciliation.
Yeah, and I feel like only someone like the Queen and the space that she occupies could inspire politicians to have such dignity. You know, I don't think anyone else would get them to behave like that. President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama recorded messages separately paying tribute to her, and Barack Obama said that the Queen is a gift to the world and truly one of the most special people I've ever met, in his words. You know, and you can tell that's authentic. One of the people that didn't send a message, despite claiming to love her so much, is President Donald Trump.
Didn't they?
No, but Melania Trump, late last night, put a tweet out saying Happy Platinum Jubilee. So I've got a sneaking suspicion they might have forgotten the occasion in advance.
Oh dear.
Oh, busy doing something else. How embarrassing.
Yes. Look, we are a bit squeezed for time this hour, so we're going to have to leave it there, Nabila and Benjamin. But thank you. We will see you for a bit of a longer session, as it were, next time.
Absolutely.